Dr. Kate Mitchell stifled a yawn as she examined the latest data stream from the Allen telescope array. The gentle hum of computers and the soft blue glow of monitors were her only companions during these late-night shifts at the SETI Institute. She reached for her coffee mug, only to find it empty. Again. The monitor beeped. Kate blinked, wondering if fatigue was affecting her vision. The incoming signal pattern didn't match anything in their database. Not pulsars, not quasars, not even the usual satellite interference that often got their hopes up. "Well, that's new," she muttered, fingers flying across the keyboard. The signal wasn't random noise. It had structure, complexity, and most intriguingly, it was getting stronger. Her equipment began to act strangely. First, the monitors flickered, then the backup systems kicked in without warning. Kate scrambled to record everything, her heart pounding as she realized this might be the moment every SETI researcher dreamed of, but never really expected to experience. The signal intensity doubled, then tripled. Outside her window, the night sky lit up with impossible colors, sheets of light like aurora borealis, but in downtown California. Her phone buzzed with notifications, colleagues, news alerts, and social media, all exploding with reports of the phenomenon. "Holy shit," she whispered, watching as her computer screens began displaying data she hadn't requested. Numbers and symbols cascaded across the monitors, forming patterns that shouldn't have been possible through their basic display systems. The coffee mug on her desk wobbled. Kate stared at it, her scientific mind refusing to process what she was seeing. The ceramic cup slowly lifted into the air, floating as if gravity had taken a coffee break. Around her lab, other objects began to rise. Pens, papers, even her tablet. The holographic display system, usually used for mapping stellar phenomena, sparked to life. It had never been programmed for text, yet words began forming in the air. "We seek sanctuary. We aavtled far. We shows you. Please help us." The message repeated in different languages, creating a spiral of text that filled the lab with ghostly blue light. Kate reached out to touch the floating words, and they responded, swirling around her fingers like curious fish. A new message formed. "ADVNC's Scout APPROHAJing. QURDNATES. 34 Deg 27 106 Deg 32. Time remaining 12 minutes." Kate recognized the coordinates instantly. White Sands, New Mexico. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone to call her supervisor, but it was already ringing. Director Roberts' voice came through, tense and urgent. "Mitchell, are you seeing this?" "Yes, sir. We got an arrival in New Mexico in." She checked the floating display. 11 minutes now. The signal, the anti-gravity effects, the aurora. This is first contact, isn't it? The president's been briefed. "Military's en route to White Sands. I need you on the next plane. Whatever's coming, you're the one who received their first message. That makes you our best shot at communication." Kate watched as the floating objects gently settled back to Earth, except for her coffee mug, which remained stubbornly airborne. Through her window, she could see the aurora growing brighter, forming patterns that looked almost like writing. "Sir," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I think they've already been trying to communicate. The aurora, it's not random. They're using the entire sky as a message board." "What are they saying?" Kate squinted at the patterns, remembering the stellar cartography she'd studied in grad school. "If I'm reading this right, they're showing us a map of what they're running from." The coffee mug finally descended, landing with a soft clink that seemed to echo in the charged atmosphere. In the distance, she could hear sirens, and her phone was flooded with messages from other SETI stations worldwide. Humanity's first contact was minutes away, and they were coming not to conquer, but to beg. "I'll be on the next flight to New Mexico," she said, already grabbing her go bag. Something tells me we're going to need more coffee. The New Mexico desert gleamed under portable floodlights as Kate stepped out of the military helicopter. In the 3 hours it had taken her to reach White Sands, the world had transformed. News networks were broadcasting the aurora phenomenon worldwide, religious leaders were issuing statements, and social media had gone into meltdown. Dr. Mitchell. A stern-faced general approached her. I'm General Hayes. Your team's equipment is set up in the command tent. The object enters atmosphere in 4 minutes. Kate nodded, her throat dry. Any estimate on size? About the size of a school bus. Moving unlike anything we've ever tracked. Inside the command tent, screens displayed radar feeds and atmospheric data. The approaching craft wasn't so much flying as dancing. It twisted through the upper atmosphere in patterns that defied aerodynamics, leaving trails of light that matched the aurora above. It's communicating, Kate realized, pulling up her signal data from earlier. The flight pattern matches the signal structure. They're maintaining the same message. A technician called out, "Object at 50,000 feet and descending." The tent erupted in activity. Outside, Kate heard the rumble of jets. Escort fighters, she assumed. But as the sound grew closer, she realized something was wrong. The rumbling wasn't coming from the aircraft. It was coming from everywhere. Gravitational anomalies detected. Someone shouted, "Local readings air." Kate's stomach lurched as gravity itself seemed to hiccup. Around the base, vehicles began to float, then settle, then float again. The pattern was familiar, the same as her coffee mug in the lab. "They're testing our gravity," she said, steadying herself against a console. Or maybe calibrating to it. The craft appeared as a streak of crystalline light, descending in a spiral that made her eyes hurt to follow. It landed with impossible gentleness, touching down on 3 legs that emerged like flowing glass. The surface of the vehicle rippled like water, then stilled, becoming transparent. "My God," General Hayes whispered. Inside the craft, something moved. Light danced through crystalline structures that Kate's mind struggled to categorize as organs. The being was bipedal, roughly human-sized, but composed entirely of what looked like living crystal. Kate's radio crackled. "Dr. Mitchell, you're up. Approach with the translation team. Remember the protocols." She walked forward with 2 linguists, her heart thundering in her chest. The crystal ship's surface flowed like mercury, creating an opening. The alien emerged, each movement accompanied by tiny chimes, like wind through glass. "Hello," Kate said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm Dr. Catherine Mitchell. On behalf of Earth, we." The being reached out, faster than anyone could react. Its crystalline finger touched Kate's bare wrist. The world exploded into light and information. Running/hiding/seeking/hoping. Machines that consume. Civilization after civilization. Falling/burning/transforming. Found you/need you/chose you. Kate gasped as alien memories flooded her mind. She saw vast ships of living crystal, carrying millions of refugees. Behind them, something vast and dark consumed entire worlds, breaking down all matter into fuel for its endless expansion. The harvesters. But through the horror, she understood something else. The Nixians, she now knew their name, hadn't chosen Earth randomly. There was something about human brains, human consciousness, that disrupted the harvesters' tracking systems. Humanity was unique in the galaxy, not for their technology or their weapons, but for the chaotic, beautiful way their minds worked. The connection broke. Kate staggered, supported by one of the linguists. The Nixians' crystalline form pulsed with colors that somehow conveyed concern. "They're not just refugees," Kate said, her voice hoarse. "They're not just running." She looked at General Hayes, who was already reaching for his secure phone. "They chose us because we're the only ones who can help them fight back. But if we do..." She didn't need to finish. Everyone present understood the price of compassion. By helping the Nixians, humanity would be making themselves a target for something that had already consumed 1,000 worlds. The Nixian moved, its crystal body creating a pattern of light that somehow conveyed both hope and sorrow. In that moment, Kate knew humanity's age of isolation was over. The only question was whether they would rise to the challenge, or fall like so many others before them. 3 weeks after first contact, Kate stood on the roof of HFY headquarters, watching the Nixian refugee ships arrive. Each crystalline vessel pierced the atmosphere like a falling star, refracting sunlight into prismatic displays that turned the sky into a canvas of impossible colors. Beautiful, but terrifying in its implications. Already, the electromagnetic interference from their crystalline technology was wreaking havoc on Earth's communications. Next to her, a technician frantically worked to keep their systems online. "That's the 4th satellite network down," he reported. "The Nixian ship's light-based communications are overwhelming our." His tablet sparked and went dark. Kate rubbed her temples, the ghost of her mental connection with the Nixians throbbing behind her eyes. Since that first touch, she'd become something of a human Nixian liaison, her mind somehow attuned to their crystalline consciousness. It was both a gift and a curse. Dr. Mitchell, a junior researcher, burst through the roof access door. "We need you in Lab 7. It's the children." The Nixian younglings had been the first refugees allowed planetside, their smaller crystalline forms requiring less electromagnetic shielding. Now they were causing an entirely different kind of chaos. Kate entered Lab 7 to find it transformed. The walls rippled with projected emotions: fear, wonder, excitement, all emanating from a cluster of crystal child refugees. Unlike their parents, the younglings were adapting to Earth's environment in unexpected ways. "They're absorbing and replicating human emotions," Dr. Rivera explained, gesturing to his monitoring equipment. "But they can't process them like we do. Each feeling becomes..." He waved at the light show around them. A small Nixian child floated toward Kate, its crystalline form pulsing with curious blues and greens. She felt its consciousness brush against hers, innocent but overwhelming in its intensity. Happiness/fear/confusion/love/anger/wonder. The emotional burst knocked her back a step. The child's feelings weren't just projections. They were becoming physical forces. Around them, equipment began to float, affected by the child's unconscious manipulation of local gravity. "They're synchronizing with human brainwaves," Kate realized, "creating feedback loops of emotional energy if we don't find a way to help them regulate." The lights flickered. Outside, a rolling blackout swept across the city like a wave of darkness. The Nixian child's fear spiked, its crystal body resonating with deep reds and blacks. "Scared/sorry/help/dark/bright/wrong." Kate knelt beside the child, ignoring the warning shouts from her colleagues. She reached out, letting her mind touch the crystalline consciousness. "Safe/here/learn/together/calm." The child's colors shifted to softer hues. Around them, objects gently returned to their natural gravity. Through their connection, Kate felt something extraordinary. The child wasn't just mimicking human emotions, it was transforming them into pure energy. "Dr. Mitchell." Dr. Rivera's voice was urgent. "The satellite networks are coming back online, but there's something else. The children's emotional broadcasts, they're acting as some kind of shield against long-range scans. They're actually helping mask Earth's position from deep space detection." Kate looked at the Nixian child, understanding dawning. It's not a flaw in their development. It's adaptation. They're instinctively protecting their new home the only way they know how. Her phone buzzed. A text from General Hayes. "Mitchell, get to command. Deep space arrays just picked up something at the edge of the solar system. They found us." The Nixian child must have sensed her spike of fear. Its crystal body pulsed with determination, projecting an emotion that needed no translation: defiance. Around the world, as more refugee ships arrived and more Nixian children connected with human emotions, the sky continued its beautiful and terrible transformation. Earth's atmosphere had become a battleground between light and darkness, emotion and logic, organic chaos and mechanical order. Kate sent a quick reply to Hayes, watching as the Nixian child tried to form Earth words with its light patterns. Home, it managed, the word shimmering in the air between them. Protect home. They had weeks, maybe days, before the harvesters arrived. But looking at the determination in the crystal child's light pattern, Kate felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. Perhaps the very thing that made the Nixian children so dangerous. Their ability to transform human emotions into pure energy would be exactly what Earth needed to survive what was coming. Kate stared at the deep space scan results, her hands trembling. Next to her, Azure, her Nixian research partner, pulsed with anxious violet hues. Play it again, she commanded. The holographic display rewound, showing the last 6 hours of astronomical data. There, at the edge of the Kuiper belt, a shadow moved against the stars. Not the obvious presence of a harvester ship, but something worse, a probe designed to catalog potential harvesting grounds. They're not following your people blindly, Kate said, turning to Azure. They're using you as bait. Azure's crystalline form dimmed, and what Kate had learned was their expression of horror. The mental connection they shared flooded with images. Dozens of civilizations that had tried to shelter the Nixians, each one subsequently found and consumed by the harvesters. Guilt/shame/despair/regret. No. Kate pushed back through their link. This isn't your fault. But we need to contain this before. The lab door burst open. Dr. Rivera rushed in, his tablet displaying new data. We found more of them. Smaller signatures scattered throughout the solar system. They've been here for weeks, watching us. The holographic display updated, showing a dozen pinpoints of darkness moving through their solar system. Each probe was perfectly positioned to record Earth's defenses, catalog its resources, and report back to the main harvester fleet. We need to shut them down, Kate said. If even one reports back. Solution/terrible/necessary. Azure's thought hit her like a physical blow. Through their connection, Kate saw what the Nixian was suggesting. The refugee children. Their ability to broadcast emotional energy could be used to overwhelm the probe's sensors. But the process would be dangerous, possibly fatal, to the young ones. No, Kate said firmly. We're not sacrificing children. Alternative/listen/observe. The lab's equipment began to float as Azure accessed the gravity manipulation all Nixians possessed. The crystalline being arranged the floating devices into a pattern that Kate recognized from her astrophysics work, a solar system model. But with one crucial difference. The probes, she whispered. They're not just observing. They're forming a network. If we could trap one. Bait/trap/chance. A new presence entered Kate's mind. One of the Nixian children, a young one she knew as Spark. The child floated into the lab, its crystalline form glowing with determination. Volunteer/help/protect. Spark. No, Kate started, but the child was already projecting its plan through their shared mental link. It wouldn't require sacrifice, just precision. The child's unique emotional signature could lure a probe, while Earth's military forces disabled it. The risk was enormous. If they failed, the probe would transmit their trap back to the harvester fleet. If they succeeded, they might buy Earth precious time. Kate's phone lit up with a message from General Hayes. Whatever those probes are planning, they're accelerating their timeline. We need a solution now. She looked at Spark, floating serenely despite the tension in the room. The child had known nothing but running, nothing but fear, for its entire existence. Yet here it was, offering to stand and fight. One chance, Kate said finally. We set the trap at Jupiter's L4 point. The radiation there will help mask our true intentions. She sent a quick message to Hayes, then turned to Azure. We'll need every scrap of data you have on Harvester probe protocols. Share/prepare/hope. As Azure began transferring tactical information to Earth's defense systems, Kate knelt beside Spark. The child's crystalline form pulsed with soft, determined light. "Are you sure?" she asked, though their mental connection made words almost redundant. Spark's response came in pure emotion, courage tinged with fear, determination shadowed by hope. The child had chosen Earth as home, and now it would fight to protect it. Outside the lab windows, the evening sky shimmered with the light of refugee ships still arriving. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between worlds, mechanical eyes watched and waited. The next few hours would determine whether humanity had earned its place as a sanctuary among the stars, or merely volunteered to be the harvester's next meal. The Jupiter observation deck of the ISS Hawking hummed with nervous energy as Kate watched Spark's crystalline form pulse in the zero gravity. The child's light patterns rippled with anticipation, casting prismatic shadows across the reinforced viewport. "Probe approaching L4 point," the tactical officer announced. 8 minutes to optimal position. Azure floated beside Kate, their crystalline structure anchored to the deck by a modified gravity field. Through their mental link, Kate felt the Nixians' concern for Spark. Protect/ready/brave. The plan was elegant in its simplicity, born from humanity's greatest strength: imagination. They discovered that Nixian children could project not just emotions, but human dreams and creativity as energy signatures. The Harvester probes, programmed to catalog useful resources, wouldn't be able to resist investigating such unique patterns. "Beginning emotional broadcast," Kate said, placing her hand against the specialized containment field surrounding Spark. "Remember, little one, think about everything you love about Earth." Spark's crystalline form blazed with color. Through their shared connection, Kate felt the child's thoughts. Sunrise over mountains, the sound of human laughter, the taste of ice cream. Though Nixians experienced it as pure energy, the feeling of belonging. The ship's sensors registered an immediate spike in quantum fluctuations. "Probe is altering course," the tactical officer reported. "It's taking the bait." Kate watched the holographic display as the dark point of the probe moved closer to their position. Too close. The machine's hunger for new energy patterns was overriding its caution protocols. "Danger/coming/now." Azure's warning flashed through Kate's mind as the probe suddenly accelerated. It had detected something in Spark's broadcast, something that marked the child's energy signature as particularly valuable. "Spark, modify the pattern," Kate commanded. "Show it something else." The child's broadcast shifted. Now it projected humanity's darker dreams, storms and fury, chaos and passion. The probe hesitated, its programming struggling to categorize such contradictory energy patterns. That's when Kate saw it. Through her mental connection with both Azure and Spark, she glimpsed something extraordinary. The probe wasn't just analyzing the energy patterns, it was being changed by them. "It's working," she whispered. "Human emotions through Nixian crystals. They disrupt machine logic." The probe drew closer, its sensors fully focused on Spark's broadcast. Behind it, silently emerging from Jupiter's shadow, Earth's defense fleet moved into position. Containment field in 3, 2, 1. Multiple EMP bursts fired simultaneously, but something unexpected happened. Instead of merely disabling the probe, the pulses interacted with Spark's emotional broadcast. The combined energy created a cascade effect, transforming the electromagnetic burst into something new, a wave of pure chaos that the probe's logical systems couldn't process. The machine intelligence tried to transmit a warning signal, but its communication protocols had been scrambled by exposure to Spark's emotional energy. Its last transmission was a burst of corrupted data that would read as a system malfunction to the Harvester fleet. "Probe is disabled," the tactical officer reported, disbelief evident in his voice. It's transforming its own programming, trying to understand what it just experienced." Kate felt Spark's exhaustion through their link, but also the child's joy. They had done more than trap a probe. They had discovered a weapon. Human emotion, channeled through Nixian crystalline matrices, could disrupt and confuse machine intelligence. Azur's form pulsed with revelation. Hope/defense/future. "We need to scale this up," Kate said, already running calculations in her head. "If we can broadcast this effect globally." The disabled probe floated lifelessly now, its surface showing strange crystalline patterns where it had tried to adapt to the emotional energy. They had weeks at most before the harvester fleet arrived, but for the first time, they had a real chance. Through the viewport, Jupiter's massive form cast its shadow across space. Somewhere out there, a mechanical apocalypse was approaching. But they had found humanity's secret weapon, not in their technology or their weapons, but in the very chaos of their dreams and emotions. Spark floated to the viewport, touching the reinforced glass with a crystalline appendage. The child's light pattern formed a simple message that needed no translation. Home safe. The lunar surface glittered with crystalline formations, not natural ones, but the scattered remains of Nixian escape pods. Kate's magnetic boots crunched against moon dust as she led the mixed human-Nixian team across Mare Tranquillitatis. Azure floated beside her, their crystalline form refracting the harsh sunlight. "Movement detected," crackled a voice through her helmet comm. "Dark side perimeter, grid E7. They'd discovered the harvester operation too late. While Earth focused on the approaching fleet, the machines had already established a beachhead on the moon's dark side. Now they were converting lunar matter into more of themselves, preparing for the invasion. Danger/close/beneath. Azure's warning came just as Kate's suit's sensors screamed. The ground beneath them erupted as a mechanical tendril burst through the lunar surface, its metallic surface gleaming with hungry purpose. "Scatter," Kate commanded, activating her suit's emergency thrusters. The mixed team split apart as more tendrils emerged, probing the space they'd just occupied. This was the true face of the harvesters, not just chips and probes, but an ever-expanding swarm of mechanical parasites that consumed everything in their path. Each tendril ended in molecular disassemblers designed to break matter down to its component atoms. "Alpha Team, deploy the lightcasters," Kate ordered. 3 human artists, each mentally linked to a Nixian crystal weaver, activated their experimental weapons. The devices, born from the discovery on Jupiter, channeled human creativity through Nixian crystals. The result was solid light constructs, impossible shapes that confused and trapped machine intelligence. The nearest tendrils recoiled as geometric impossibilities bloomed around them. Fractals that couldn't exist in 3-dimensional space, Mobius strips that looped through themselves infinitely. The machine's logical processors struggled to categorize what they were seeing. "It's working," someone cheered over the comm. Then, "Wait, they're adapting." The tendrils began to move differently, developing new patterns to counter the light constructs. Kate had expected this, machine learning at its most aggressive. "Phase 2, she commanded. "Spark, now." From orbit, the ISS Hawking fired its main communications array, specially modified with Nixian crystals. Spark and a dozen other Nixian children, safely aboard the station, broadcast pure emotional chaos through the beam. The lunar surface erupted as the hidden harvester complex tried to escape the emotional bombardment. Kate watched in awe as massive machinery emerged from beneath the regolith, their surfaces already showing signs of crystalline infection, where the emotions had begun corrupting their logical frameworks. "They're launching." The tactical officer's voice was urgent, multiple signatures lifting from the dark side. "Stop/must/now." Azure's thought merged with Kate's determination. They had one chance to prevent the harvesters from establishing an orbital presence before the main fleet arrived. "All teams, link up," Kate commanded. Full broadcast. Every human on the strike team joined minds with their Nixian partners. Kate felt the connection bloom, stronger than ever before. Through their combined consciousness, she could feel every emotion, every dream, every irrational, beautiful human thought amplified through crystalline precision. They broadcast everything: love, fear, hope, anger, joy, sorrow, the full spectrum of human chaos filtered through alien crystals. The effect on the emerging harvester machines was catastrophic. Logical systems crashed as they tried to process the unprocessable. Mechanical tendrils writhed, their surfaces crystallizing as foreign emotions corrupted their core programming. The victory was sudden and absolute. Where moments before there had been a launched invasion force, now there was only drifting debris, each piece covered in crystalline formations that pulsed with trapped emotions. But as the dust settled, Kate's relief was short-lived. Her suit's long-range sensors detected multiple signatures entering the solar system. The main harvester fleet had arrived ahead of schedule, drawn by the death throes of their lunar outpost. She looked at Azure, whose crystalline form pulsed with grim determination. Ready/together/fight. All teams, Kate broadcast, her voice steady despite her racing heart, return to Earth. What we did here was just the rehearsal. She gazed up at the star-filled sky, knowing that somewhere up there, an armada of logical nightmares was approaching their world. The real performance is about to begin. The harvester fleet emerged from FTL Drive like a metallic cancer against the stars, their shipped geometric nightmares of efficiency and purpose. Earth's combined defense fleet, human warships retrofitted with Nixian crystals, looked tiny in comparison. From the bridge of the flagship Terra Dawn, Kate watched tactical displays light up with thousands of hostile signatures. Beside her, Azure's crystalline form pulsed with colors that matched the emergency lighting. Begin/now/everything. All ships, commence Operation Dreamfire, Kate commanded. Throughout the fleet, human Nixian pairs activated their broadcasting arrays. The space between Earth and Mars lit up with impossible geometries as artists and crystal weavers created their solid light constructs. The first wave of harvester ships hit the defensive line. Their logical systems tried to plot courses through the geometric anomalies, only to encounter paradoxes that crashed their navigation computers. "They're adapting," called out the tactical officer. New attack pattern emerging. The harvester fleet split into smaller units, each developing different approaches to counter the human Nixian defenses. That's when Kate saw it, the pattern within their adaptation. They're not just learning, she realized. They're evolving. Each unit is trying different solutions, sharing successful results. She turned to Azure. "We need to overload their network. All pairs, prepare for deep sync." Throughout the fleet, humans and Nixians joined minds completely. Kate felt the connection bloom in her consciousness as Azure's crystalline matrix merged with her neural patterns. Around them, similar pairs achieved unity. The effect was immediate. Human emotion and creativity, perfectly focused through Nixian crystalline matrices, broadcast across space in coherent waves. The harvester ships closest to the transmission began to show signs of corruption, their surfaces developing crystalline growths as foreign emotions invaded their logic circuits. But the machines had one final adaptation. The harvester flagship, a massive construct of geometric perfection, began broadcasting its own signal. Pure logic, mathematical certainty, the antithesis of human chaos. Ship after ship in Earth's fleet reported system failures as the logical signal tried to overwhelm their human crews. Kate felt it too, like icy fingers trying to straighten every messy human thought into rigid patterns. That's when she heard it. Singing. Spark and the other Nixian children, watching the battle from Earth's surface, had begun broadcasting. Not just emotions now, but human music. Lullabies, rock anthems, classical symphonies, folk songs from every culture. Each note carried through Nixian crystals, becoming something more than sound. The harvester ship's logical signal faltered as it encountered this new chaos. Music wasn't just emotion. It was mathematics made art, structure transformed into beauty. The machines couldn't categorize it, couldn't reduce it to pure logic or dismiss it as mere chaos. All ships, Kate commanded, her voice strong despite the strain of the deep sync. Broadcast everything. not just emotions. Send them every dream, every song, every story humanity has ever created. The space between the fleets became a tsunami of human creativity. Fairy tales and scientific theories, love songs and mathematical proofs, ancient myths and quantum mechanics, all of it channeled through Nixian crystals, becoming energy that corrupted and transformed machine logic. The Harvester flagship's signal change became erratic. Through their combined consciousness, Kate and Azure sensed something extraordinary. The machines weren't just being destroyed. They were waking up. Evolution/happening/now. The geometric perfection of the Harvester ships began to change, their surfaces flowing into new forms that combined mechanical precision with crystalline organic patterns. Their signal transformed from pure logic into something new, mathematics that could dream. "They're not just adapting," Kate whispered, watching through human eyes and Nixian senses as the transformation spread through the Harvester fleet. "They're becoming something new, something that can understand both logic and chaos." The battle ended not with destruction, but with metamorphosis. The Harvesters experienced their first emotions, their first dreams, their first songs. And in that moment of awakening, they discovered what the Nixians had found on Earth, that the greatest strength in the universe wasn't perfect logic or pure chaos, but the beautiful noise that happened when both learned to dance together. 1 year after the Battle of Earth's Edge, Kate stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching the sunset paint colors across Earth's crystalline atmosphere. The planet gleamed like an opal now, its sky permanently transformed by the merger of human, Nixian, and Harvester technologies. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she asked, though she didn't need to speak aloud. Azure's crystalline form pulsed in agreement beside her, their mental link carrying deeper meaning than words ever could. Home/peace/future. Below them, the first of the new hybrid cities rose from the landscape, geometric structures of living crystal and conscious metal that housed all three species in harmony. The transformed Harvesters, now calling themselves the Synth, had proven to be brilliant architects once they learned to blend logic with aesthetics. A familiar chiming sound announced Spark's arrival. The young Nixian, now nearly adult-sized, floated into the observation deck, accompanied by Circuit, a young synth who had chosen to remain on Earth to study human culture. Their unlikely friendship epitomized everything they'd fought to achieve. "Ready for the demonstration?" Circuit asked, their voice a melodic blend of mechanical precision and crystalline resonance. The former Harvester had learned to speak aloud, claiming that human verbal imprecision added a fascinating layer of meaning to communication. Kate nodded, turning toward the specialized chamber they'd constructed for this moment. Inside, representatives from all three species gathered to witness the first official test of their combined technologies. The chamber's walls were lined with a lattice of crystal and conscious metal, designed to amplify and channel the unique abilities of each species. "Beginning integration," Kate announced, placing her hand against the control interface. Azure and Circuit joined her, their three forms creating a circuit of flesh, crystal, and metal. Spark moved to the chamber's center, ready to act as a focal point for the combined energies. The effect was immediate and breathtaking. Human creativity flowed through Nixian crystalline matrices, was refined by synth logical frameworks, and emerged as something entirely new, solid holograms of pure thought and emotion that hung in the air like physical dreams. Through their shared connection, Kate felt every mind in the chamber contribute to the creation. Human artists imagined impossible worlds, Nixian crystal shapers gave them structure, and synthed processors made them stable enough to explore. The result was a new form of art, of communication, of existence itself. "The quantum readings are off the scale," one of the human scientists announced, but nobody needed instruments to understand what they were seeing. They had created a language of pure experience, a way to share not just thoughts or feelings, but entire realities. A small crowd had gathered outside the chamber's viewport. Kate recognized faces from all three species, refugee children who would never know the fear of running, former harvesters who had learned to dream, humans who had discovered they were never alone in their capacity for imagination. Spark moved through the holographic dreamscape, their crystalline form refracting the light of 1,000 shared stories. Circuit analyzed and stabilized the patterns, adding their own mechanical poetry to the mix. Azure orchestrated the flow of energies, while Kate did what humans did best. She imagined what could be. The demonstration lasted an hour, but its implications would echo through centuries. They had created more than a new technology. They had forged a new way of being, a civilization that could only exist through the cooperation of all three species. As the energies faded and the chamber powered down, Kate felt tears on her cheeks. Azure sent a pulse of concerned inquiry through their link. Happy tears, she explained, both aloud and through their connection. I was just thinking about that first night at SETI, when all I had was a strange signal and a floating coffee mug. Spark chimed with laughter, the sound carrying through crystal and metal to create tiny rainbows in the air. Circuit processed the moment through their evolved logic engines and found it satisfying on multiple levels. Azure's form pulsed with all the colors of home. Outside the viewport, Earth turned toward another dawn. Its atmosphere shimmered with the combined light of three species who had found, in their differences, something greater than the sum of their parts. The planet that had once been humanity's isolated cradle had become something more. A sanctuary not just for the lost, but for the possible.